The Last of Us 2 has dropped its first little sneak peek.
Personally, I could consider The Last of Us Part 2 my favorite video game of all time.
This is part 2 of the
Told
game.
you, man, we have a lot to discuss in here. If you stick around till after, you'll get to see like some in-depth predictions, and I think this is one's fairly easy to predict. So if you're curious and you want to know what might happen in this season, definitely stick around.
Welcome to Backseat Directing,
Where we talk about movies, TV shows, comics, and more.
We're your hosts,
Andrew
and Aaron.
We put out new episodes every Monday and Thursday.
And on today's episode, we're reacting to the newest teaser trailer for The Last of Us Part 2.
3, 2, 1, action.
Oh boy, got a little treat for you today.
Make a name for myself here. You just make sure people remember what happened here today.
The Last of Us 2 has dropped its first little sneak peek. It's a quick little trailer. It doesn't show too much, but it's going to spark some cool conversation, I think. We've both played part 2 of the game.
And part 1.
And a part 1 as well. So
I just don't want to get flamed for that.
Yeah, we've also seen the season 1.
Yeah, of course. Don't worry, we're up to date. So we are going to watch the teaser trailer today, and we will not spoil anything until we watch the trailer.
Yes, but the video game is, where does it sit in your rankings right now? And I know your rankings kind of change every once in a while.
I think everyone's do.
So like right now, where is The Last of Us and The Last of Us Part 2 sitting in your video game rankings?
So personally, I could consider The Last of Us Part 2 my favorite video game of all time.
That's big.
I'm very big on story-driven narrative games. I like third-person story games. So The Last of Us Part 2 hits right in the center of my like everything I need. It's my wish list.
Yeah.
It has a great main character. I love Ellie. I love Ashley Johnson voicing her. But right now I'm replaying Arkham games. I'm in Arkham Asylum. Ooh, it's close to my heart. I mean, Arkham City.
That one's got nostalgia behind it too.
Yeah, Arkham City is the contender for my favorite game. But Part 2, Last of Us Part 2, I was also replaying that. I was in my New Game Plus playthrough, and it's just so good. Like the animation is amazing because it's a way more modern game than at least the first 2 installments in the Arkham series. So I'd say I could call it my favorite game of all time. Tentatively.
Okay.
Where does this
definitely for sure, maybe. Yeah. Top 3, I'd say, for me.
For the Part 2.
For Part 2, yeah.
We both like Part 2 better. Well, you didn't finish Part 2, did you?
I haven't finished Part 2 yet.
You're considering them like one game when you rank it?
Kinda, yeah. I like Part 2's gameplay better.
Oh, it's leagues better.
Yeah.
I haven't played.
But the first one was a little clunky at parts. The second one is so much smoother.
But there is a version we haven't played, which is The Last of Us Part 1. So that's like the remastered version that they made to be played on PS5. So that's probably a lot better. I hear that they improved the graphics, the physics, the like AI, I guess whatever you would call it, the enemies in the game that are just computer generated, they have a lot better like response performance. And so they're a lot more dynamic, and they don't just like stand in one place or take one simple back and forth route.
Yeah.
So they improved the first game a lot with that. And I haven't had the chance to play that to compare. It's really cool to play as Joel, for sure. One of the best fictional characters of all time. But Ellie is above Joel for me. Ellie is definitely one of my favorite fictional characters of all time. She's right up there next to Batman.
Yeah.
And Batman, I literally have tattooed on my arm.
Yeah, Part 2 is interesting because you're switching characters a lot, you know. So,
spoiler.
You get a little bit of a different feel than in the first one.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, you're just Joel in the first one, right?
There's moments where you play as Ellie.
Okay.
Little kid Ellie. So you can't like defeat the enemies as easily in hand-to-hand combat. You have to shoot them or sneak up on them and stab them. But it's similar mechanics to play as Ellie. You play as her when Joel gets injured. I think it's at the college campus, and then you play as her again when Joel's injured and you're at the little town and it's snowing with that part with David.
Yeah. Season 1 was pretty faithful to the game.
Yes, except for compressing the story really intensely. So taking out a lot of the fighting, a lot of the like parts of the story that build the relationship for the characters in my eyes. So taking out a lot of their journey in terms of really traveling between these different locations and fighting more humans and fighting more infected. But overall, one of the most faithful adaptations I've seen of anything, just compressed.
It was a show that I was fully invested in each week because they released every week rather than multiple all at once.
Did that come out in January of last year?
Yeah,
January show, right?
Yeah.
Wow, that's
yeah,
so long ago now.
It does feel like forever ago, right?
It was my favorite show last year, I would say.
I could probably agree with that.
We got one half of Invincible last year, but it was the bad half.
Right.
It was the first half.
Yeah, the second half was better. So how do you think, I guess we can get that into this part a little more after the trailer of like how you think they're going to interpret season 2 versus part 2 of the game.
I told you, man, we have a lot to discuss in here. If you stick around till after, you'll get to see like some in-depth predictions. And I think this is one's fairly easy to predict. So if you're curious and you want to know what might happen in this season, definitely stick around.
All right, let's go ahead and jump into this trailer.
As Aaron's click and play here, please make sure that you subscribe and hit the notification bell. You don't want to miss any of our awesome content. We've been putting out extra episodes, usually on Fridays. Make sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms and subscribe on the one you're currently on.
Oh, there it is. All right, let's get this pulled up here.
And this is based on...
Everything has changed since I brought her back.
Did you hurt her? Then what? What did you do? Joel Miller.
Who are you?
I am your consequence. I don't care.
I saved her.
I did not know how badly I needed to see them in the trailer. That tree shot in the woods. What are they called? Scars. Dude, the scars in the trailer. Are we going back through this and going to do a little bit of...
Well, I wanted to see the scars.
They were at the end of the trailer for sure, but I think that I just saw moments where
we're
they
going to
were
jump
earlier.
back real quick.
We need to like stop it, like frame by frame this, honestly. It's really quick. There's a lot of Easter eggs.
I don't care.
Okay, can we frame by frame the end there a little bit to talk to people about what they're seeing?
Absolutely. But I do want to warn the audience that we might be getting into spoiler territory here.
Don't even worry.
If you haven't, you know it's true.
Yeah.
If you haven't played part 2 and you don't want the season 2 to be spoiled at all, thank you so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button, notification bell, and we'll see you on the next one.
To me, this is one of the best stories ever.
Otherwise, here we are. We're going to be talking about part 2 and how it relates to the season, what we think we're going to be getting, without spoiling the later half of the game since I haven't finished it all yet. But I know enough to be able to predict what's going to happen. All right. You want to go through the whole thing or just the end, you said?
Whichever. I mean, there's going to be points where I want to
start at the beginning. We'll start at the beginning and you tell me when to pause.
All right, you got that finger on the space bar because there's a lot of stuff in here to unpack. My memory is not perfect, but if it's been a while since you've played The Last of Us Part 2, I've played it within like a year. So my memory of it is fairly good.
I'm going to turn the audio off for it so we're not clashing too much here.
So they're in what, Wyoming or Montana or something like that?
This January.
You get old man Joel. I mean, older man Joel. Pause. Okay.
So, look at that. That looks so good, doesn't it?
Perfect.
So good.
Okay, so obviously news you guys already know. Pedro Pascal, Bella Ramsey are coming back. So Bella Ramsey's going to have... You'll see this in the very opening of the first episode, I'm sure. It's, I think, a 5-year time jump or 3. Because she's like really young, like 14 in the first game, and then the second game, I think she's 19.
Sounds about right.
So they've entered the community that you saw in the first season with Tommy, Joel's brother. And Tommy and his wife are like leaders in this community. So in order to hide the scar of her bite, Ellie gets a tattoo in that area. So that's what you're seeing right here on her forearm. The iconic tattoo of the moth and the fern that covers up her bite mark, because if you see a scar of a bite mark, you're going to ask, how are you not infected with this bite mark? So
Well, you're going to probably ask while holding a gun.
this is a very hostile world. So she has to hide this because people can't know that the cure runs in her veins, because it's very, very dangerous. And at the end of the first season and first game, they basically lose any chance of her cure blood being turned into a cure. Okay.
Ready to get back?
I got really excited when I saw the tattoo the first time.
Yeah, it looks so good. All right, here we go.
I want to get this tattoo, genuinely. So they're defending the wall from infected. Now we're getting a flashback to the first season when Joel killed the doctor that was going to turn Ellie into the cure, but also simultaneously kill Ellie. So I understand why he did it. But this
serious consequences.
This doctor will tie into a butterfly effect sequence of events that will completely not only create the story of season 2 and part 2 of the game, but irreparably change Joel and Ellie's lives. So I don't want to spoil it for you too much, but this doctor, I will say, is related to a key character that you will see.
Oh, boy.
Nice.
Pause. Oh.
Yeah, we can go back.
I guess we're going to look at them.
Here?
Yeah. I am not sure exactly what is going on here.
Me neither.
It could be an element that's not included in the game or something I'm forgetting.
Yeah.
But it looks like she's in a gurney or a bed. I mean, the first look is as though Ellie is giving birth.
That's kind of what it looked like, and I remember that not happening.
It's not an element of the game. That is Bella Ramsey, is it not?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd have to be very confused. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Facial recognition ability says yes.
So we're gonna get back to them.
Here.
Okay. Go back a second.
Yep.
Because we saw Jeffrey Wright. All right. So I want to talk about this.
What's that?
So Jeffrey Wright did the motion capture for this character, Isaac, who is a big character in The Last of Us Part II. I'm curious if he's going to have more screen time in the show than he did in the game. It wasn't a very large amount of screen time in the game, but Jeffrey Wright has obviously become an even bigger star since The Last of Us Part II in my eyes. I mean, he's done all kinds of stuff now, from Batman to Wes Anderson films. I mean, I think he's a pretty big name, and it's really cool for them to get another character directly from the game to the movie. So if you don't know who Isaac is, how do I say this without spoiling too much? I feel like it's fair to say who the wolves are. So I won't say too much. I'll just leave it at that.
We said spoilers.
Yes.
We said spoilers. Just don't spoil the game.
The ending?
Yeah, like the end of the game. You know what I mean?
Do we say what happens in the beginning of the game, though? Like the biggest plot point of the entire Last of Us Part 2? Because that could be very upsetting to people. Let's maybe not.
Okay.
If you've played the games, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And you know how that ties into the wolves and Isaac. But I'll just say that the wolves are a community of people that live in Seattle. And they are led by this man, Isaac, who kind of leads them in a military fashion. They're like a militant fighting force who have really taken over most of Seattle, but they live in the stadium. And he is revered by these people. So the Scars are another community. We'll talk about them more when we stop on them later in the trailer. They fight against the wolves, and both of them have a leader that they hold in incredibly high regard and respect, and people do what they say without questioning it.
That's good. That's good.
Without saying too much.
All right, back to the trailer.
Oh wait, we gotta stop at that one too. The one directly after Isaac with the tree.
You mean the horse?
No, the tree. Go back. Is it between? Pause it. Just get ready to pause it right after Isaac.
Here.
There.
There we go. Look at that timing. All right.
So this kind of looks a little, this looks a little AI generated to my eyes.
I don't think that's an actual shot from the...
No, I mean, look at the people. I mean, she looks more real, but the sword looks fake, and then the people look super fake.
No, the whole thing, I think, might be...
Maybe that explains why it's so quick. It didn't even show up when you scrubbed along the bottom. So I like this, what we're doing right now.
Maybe we could, like, post it to an Instagram story, and it will tell us if it was AI generated.
I think it is.
I think so too.
The more I look at it, like even her face, like the whole thing. So I like what we're doing right now. We should call this the teaser breakdown, because this is like
Breakdown.
I don't think we've ever done like a real breakdown episode, but
Yeah.
this is something we actually know a lot about.
Yeah.
So
Especially you.
I love these games. So what you're seeing here is Ellie, played by Bella Ramsey, hiding behind a tree in the forest.
Created by AI.
But the concept is still there. It feels really exactly like the forest feels in Seattle in the game, which I love, because even at the blink of this, which is almost like a frame of film strip from Fight Club, it's so quick, I could immediately tell what portion of the story it's from. And the people who are behind her, who are hooded and holding torches, would be the people I mentioned earlier, known as the Scars. And the Scars are this other group fighting for Seattle against the Wolves. The Scars are... how do I describe them? They're more native. Like they're not as they believe in kind of more living off the land. They believe in kind of abandoning the comforts of society, and that's how they survive in this new post-apocalyptic wasteland. Is they just have gone back to kind of our roots, and not entirely caveman-esque, because let's put it this way, they use bow and arrows instead of guns. So that is kind of sums up their ideology. But they have this leader who, at the outset of the story, by the time our characters get to Seattle, has already died or been killed. And this has really kind of sent ripples through their community, because she was almost like a religious figure to them. Like she was like Jesus walking on earth to them. They have murals of her, and they worship her language as if it's like the word. So these people, I will say nothing else other than the fact that you step into a world where these Scars are fighting against the Wolves, and our characters kind of come into the middle / aftermath of that, and we're trying to accomplish a different mission and kind of sneak around the conflict of these two groups. So the Scars are super interesting, though. I wish this image wasn't so terrible.
Doesn't that look like Pedro Pascal in the corner?
They're like, hey, we didn't have a lot of faces to generate from. This is one of the ones in your show.
Like, Pedro, go stand over there for a second.
But without saying more, the Scars also introduce two very important characters to the second half of the game, second half of Part 2, which from what I've heard, the season 2 of the show is only going to be maybe the first half of the game. They might be stretching Last of Us Part 2, the game, into 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah, I heard that it could be 2 or 3, not just split in half.
Yeah, it definitely won't
The
be
game
one.
is really long.
Yeah, it's way too long to just be one season. It was rough to even have the first game as one season.
Yeah, I feel like the second one is a lot longer than the first game, right?
Because we did say spoilers. The second game takes place from the perspective of both Ellie, and you get another half of the game from the perspective of Abby, who's going to be another important character introduced. She's one of the wolves. But like I said, these Scars are going to introduce us to two young characters that are very big part of Abby's story and the story overall. And I came to love them as the story came along. And a lot of people couldn't learn to love Abby, but I did. I won't say anything else.
We got more to break down here. Here we go.
It's like 2 more images. Which that last image of Pedro Pascal, I think, is just from, based on my knowledge, early on in the story when, he first meets Abby. It's they're in like a ski lift, like a snow resort up in the mountains, and they're attacked by a horde of infected, like so many more than I feel like I have seen in the entire first game.
Yeah. Oh, it looks so good, though, doesn't it?
He looks good.
Yeah.
Pedro Pascal as Joel?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude. I think I've said my piece. I don't want to destroy anything.
All right. So how much more are you comfortable with talking about?
I think we could we could be like, hey, sign off if you want to now. We're
Okay,
gonna
this is the second time.
This is the second warning. So
Okay.
if you don't want huge important spoilers that will probably ruin the second season.
Yes.
Imagine ruin.
Or ruin the second game.
Yeah,
if you haven't played the game. Which the game is better than the show, and the show was already really
there's
good.
No way they'll make as good of a show with the upcoming seasons as The Last of Us Part 2 is. But a lot of people do hate the game. Let's talk about why with this spoiler. Ready?
We warned you!
Joel dies.
God damn it!
I feel like it's something a lot of people are already predicting, though. Like, I feel like a lot of non-gamers who watch the show.
Die?
Believe me, dude. You're talking to somebody
So soon, too!
You're talking to somebody who's more devastated. Very beginning of the game. First,
We got news like a month ago. that Pedro Pascal has rapped on shooting of The Last of Us, and he was there for like 2 days.
The gamers were like, but he's in,
and everyone else like, wow, that was really quick.
He's in multiple flashbacks throughout the rest of the game, though, because there's that really, really emotional important part on the porch where
back when Ellie's younger too, right?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts of the game, even though it's a completely non-combatant part of the game. There's flashbacks later in the game where he takes Ellie for her birthday to go see a museum, and she gets to see dinosaurs, which she thinks are really cool, and she gets to sit in a spacecraft, like it's not even a replica, it's like a real spacecraft. She gets to sit in it, and he found her a recording of a rocket going off, and she puts it in her headphones, and in her mind she gets to experience the liftoff, and it's this beautiful emotional moment, and like you feel how their relationship has grown even further, and it tugs at my heartstrings in the most insane way, where I feel this father-daughter connection between them so much even stronger than I did in the first game, where it's really emotionally felt. And that sequence is one of my favorite in the game, like I said, which is crazy because it's really no action. It's just emotion. And it tethers you back to Joel, and you get to see flashbacks of her learning that Joel sacrificed the rest of the world for her, and her condemning him for that and refusing to talk to him. And then their relationship becomes standoffish. Some guy tries to step up to her for being a lesbian, and Joel, I think, punches him in the face. Because no matter how she feels about him, Joel still feels like he's her dad. And then she's mad at him for that, but then we get that final scene on the porch where she forgives him. And she's like, let's hang out tomorrow and watch a movie. And those were the plans they had when Joel ultimately dies. But man, that's just the most gut-wrenching scene in the whole game, is her on the ground like, get up, Joel, you have to get up. And then Abby just...
Who kills Joel?
Abby kills Joel.
Can we rewind? Didn't you say that you learned to love Abby?
It was the hardest journey of my life.
What just happened? What do you mean? How can you love someone who killed Joel?
This is the difference between people who love and hate The Last of Us Part 2, because it's a very polarizing game in the gaming community. And people who are, staunch, what's the term? I can't remember what the term is, but they're really loyal to the first game.
There you go.
And they love Joel and played as Joel.
They got attached.
I played the games back to back.
Yeah.
So, because when I played The Last of Us Part 2 was already out.
I did too, and that's why I stopped playing Part 2, because I just kind of lost momentum.
Dang it, dude. I don't know how you lost momentum. It's such a good game.
I want to replay this game from the beginning and stream it before the season comes out.
Dude, absolutely. I would love to play the game again.
I think that would be so cool.
So what I was talking about was the difference between people who like the game and don't like the game. Is basically, to me, it's all centered around how you feel about Joel's death and continuing on to play entirely as Abby and Ellie.
And it happens early.
Yeah.
Joel's death.
First couple hours playing the game, Joel's. Yeah. And you barely play as Joel. I think you play as him a little bit when you save Abby. Yeah,
from that spot that we were just talking about.
Or no, you just play as Abby. Actually, I think you just play as Abby at that part. You don't play as Joel in the whole game. You play as Joel in the very opening, when he finds a guitar to bring back to Ellie, and then you're not.
And that's it.
Yeah, I think that's it. To my recollection.
Okay.
And so Joel saves Abby, and then you find out that Abby has taken a small group of wolves who were emotionally tethered to the people at the hospital where Joel killed everybody. Abby's taken that group because her father was the surgeon who was killed. And she led that group to go hunting for Joel. So
that's where everything ties in together.
Yeah. So after Joel
killed Abby's dad.
So it's really Joel's fault. It's the same thing that Joel would have done. If somebody had killed Ellie, it's the same thing Joel would have done. It's exactly the circle of violence that repeats itself in this game when Joel gets killed by Abby and Ellie goes after Abby.
Yep.
So you can't fault Abby for doing exactly what any of our favorite characters would do. So I don't blame Abby for killing Joel. Because essentially he deserved it.
Perspective.
Yeah. I mean, Joel would have hunted down the person who killed his daughter in the very beginning of the game. She's doing the exact same thing that any of the characters that we love and respect from the game would do, but we're just on the other side of it. And I think the true genius and masterclass in storytelling that is this game makes us learn that slowly throughout. Because I literally, when they first made me play as Abby, would walk off a cliff. And to the point where I love the game so much that I just wouldn't stop playing. I just kept playing. I'm not going to quit because I'm playing as Abby. because the storytelling, I trust the creators of this game, and they made me really like Abby and really like the characters that exist in Abby's world, namely the two scars that'll come to be part of the story. But that's where I fall in love with the game, is their ability to manipulate my emotions to such an extent that they can take a character, create them, make me hate them more than almost any character I've ever hated on screen, and then make me kind of like them, and then make me really like them. And I had to play as Abby a lot to get there and see a lot of Abby's journey. First of all, the thing that helps is that Abby is super jacked.
Huge.
It makes her so cool.
She's a stud.
Abby, I think at one point she says she benched like 225 or something. I was like, damn.
And that was before Andrew benched 225.
Yeah, well, that was well before I had done it. She's my icon. Now I'm
for Abby.
Finally
For Abby.
not repping them. Still my one rep.
Well, that was like the
was
lighter weight to get there.
Yeah. That was 185.
Right.
But she's super cool. She's a badass. You just hate her because of the story elements at the very beginning. She takes a golf club to Joel's dome and just beats him to death.
Yeah.
But would Joel have been any kinder, again, to somebody who had done the same thing to him? Or would he have been even more brutal?
It's such a complicated way to present a story, you know, like, because you're so right. Like, if we played, let's say there was no part 1, and we played this new part 1, but it starts where part 2 is, but from Abby's perspective only, and it's her dad that just got shot because he was trying to save the human race.
You would love Abby.
Yeah.
You
would hate Joel.
You would be screaming for Joel's head, you know? So that's what I think. I think you have to step back and think about exactly what you just said, and then you can really appreciate the game. I think people who don't like the game really have their heads in the sand and are just too attached to what they wanted to happen. I love when something goes the way I wanted it to happen, but it's almost better when it goes the way you didn't expect, but they still make you like it.
Yeah.
Because they made you...
That's way harder to do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's a big risk.
They took a big risk, and that's what I love about these games is they take big risks. The ending of the first story is a big risk. You know, instead of like saving humanity, you condemn humanity to save the one girl that you love. And there's people who would disagree with Joel's decision on that. I'm not one of them. I'm a huge Joel apologist, and 1,000 times out of 1,000, I would have saved Ellie if it was like a click X or click O choice. I would have chosen to save Ellie. I'm glad he did. But then you've got to reap the consequences of that in part 2. And they did such a good job, like you said, of interweaving, connecting the stories in that sense so that the games aren't, separated. The biggest gut punch to me is that they only really got a couple of years together to spend time together, because Ellie didn't have her family and Joel didn't have his family. They only got this limited time, and they spent a couple of years of it with Ellie being mad at Joel. So that really hurts. Because I don't know, they're not real, but they're real to me.
You have been with them. You've interacted with the people that they've interacted with. That's the unique part of a video game, is that you're living through the character.
You think about how attached we are to some movies, and, I'd have to watch a movie 10 times to watch it for 20 hours. I've spent 100 hours in the world of The Last of Us between the first and last game.
Yeah.
And that's literally in my PlayStation stats. So I know that to be true. So I'm very attached to them. And I mean, that makes the golf club scene all the more gut-wrenching, but it makes it all the more emotionally gratifying when eventually you see Abby's heart and you see what kind of person she is. You saw her on her worst day in the opening scene.
It's really good character development on display. That's really hard to do. But in hopes to keep this episode kind of contained a little bit in terms of how long it is, I want to talk about the gameplay, because we're going to talk about the story a bunch more, especially once the season comes out and if we stream and all that. What do you think of the gameplay, of the mechanics of both of these games, part 1, part 2? What are some of your favorite aspects, your least favorite aspects? What parts of the game do you love the most outside of the story?
One of my favorite and most difficult and frustrating aspects of the game at the same time is the crafting. I think the crafting is one of my favorite things because they teach you to ration materials and ration your equipment. You'll get, a pair of scissors here, a pair of duct tape, piece of duct tape here, and you forge it together to make different weapons that make your life easier in combat.
Much easier.
If you don't use it appropriately or you waste it, it's very upsetting because you have to dig and search for these materials in little nooks and crannies and cabinets. But it makes it feel more earned when you use it successfully. So I really enjoy the crafting and the unlocking. When you can unlock items, it feels very satisfying in this game because you can unlock like a remote detonate C4, and
Mhm.
now you have this weapon to use against hordes of infected. It's so much fun. But what about
The
yourself?
crafting makes you, like you said, appreciate the game a little bit more, because I'm the kind of gamer who just wants to like fly through, like full steam ahead. Don't give me any roadblocks like collecting supplies. That's stupid.
I think it would legitimately ruin the game if you didn't have to collect supplies. I think it would shoot the game in the foot so bad.
But like you said, it makes it feel more earned. It made you feel like you were doing your due diligence, that you're planning for the future, because you're right. Like when you get into these scenarios where you're going up against infected or other people that are going against you, if you didn't collect supplies, it's going to be nearly impossible to move on.
Yeah, it makes me feel more like I'm a part of the story too, because if I just found a pile of grenades lying around, I mean, it doesn't feel as much like I found.
It's like the
material and
game
put
gave it to
together.
you.
Yeah, exactly. So I really like the crafting aspect, and then like you said, it makes you look closer. Another great part of the game is
It feels
this
like
little
strategy.
exactly.
Almost.
Yeah, you have to, and you have to decide too, because you can have the same parts that you could use to make a smoke grenade
Yeah.
or
And
a Molotov.
and the world is huge.
Yeah.
So like you don't have to search every room, but there's so many rooms for you to search to see if you can get more and more supplies.
When you do, you find so many little hidden details, because they really went into the nitty gritty of making small,
It's insane.
very great detail. Like you can look at calendars hanging on the wall; they're all stuck to the date and year of when the apocalypse was supposed to happen in the first game. It's in October, I believe. You can look and find little notes and little scrawlings, and there are some harrowing emotional stories in these notes, like about people who had to leave behind loved ones or their pets, or they're like talking to their neighbor. We have to go. Please, like take care.
Yeah, I don't read those notes. That way I can like see the TV, because otherwise I just have a layer of tears in my eyes.
I love reading all the little notes and finding all the little trinkets, because they tell whole individual stories.
Yeah.
And it adds layers to the game. But man, they do such a good job.
It's so unnecessary for them to add all of that
to make it so sad too.
But it's like
someone leave one nice note.
Right, but it adds so much to the game.
Yeah,
all those little pieces accumulate.
And every little area of the game is so different and unique. I mean, especially in Last of Us Part II, you're looking through little shops, and there's tattoo shops and hairstylists and all kinds of stuff, bakeries. Like every environment is unique. It's not like they designed a room and then copied it and put it in another part of the map. There's different environments. You're going from the woods, you're going in snowy areas, like you're going museums and all kinds, hospitals, all kinds of environments and places. Keeps the game fresh and keeps me focused, because I can get bored of games very easily.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so you like the supplies, the environment, the world building.
That's a good concise way to say it, is the world building is impeccable.
Yeah. Okay. What are some of your other favorite points?
I mean, the gameplay is really nice. I think that the shooting, especially in the second game, is vastly improved. The shooting's really smooth. I like how many different weapons you can get in the second game, because you can get shotguns, snipers.
Switching between them is very satisfying.
Exactly. But to me, the most satisfying thing when it comes to weapons is the addition of the silenced pistol.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Like you can take it on and put it off. So I love to really approach missions in this game on stealth basis as much as I can. I'll sit there.
You almost have to.
Yeah, because you'll get mobbed.
Yeah, it's so hard if all of the team that you're going against knows where you're at.
But I also will catch myself resetting a mission like 50 times, especially that one that's on that long strip of suburbia. When you're playing as Ellie, I really could not get that on hard to be fully completed in stealth, and it was killing me.
Thank God you have to do it over and over again, because I feel like I die so much in this game that I feel like I'm playing wrong.
For me, I feel like it's not usually dying. It's I get spotted and then I just go pause, restart. Like I want to do it not getting spotted.
I got you.
I really want to get through it when I feel like it's super clean, because I see playthroughs online that are so smooth.
Dude, they're so good.
Nailing headshots and
I feel like they're moving so fast.
Yeah,
too.
they're diving, headshot, roll. The movement mechanics are so good, because this game has much better diving, and you can roll onto your back and shoot.
Yeah, and you can dodge.
Yeah,
I don't think you can do that in the first one.
You can do that little shake.
I don't remember. I feel like you could run, like you can like kind of push away and run, but I don't remember them like dodging.
Yeah,
punches.
I don't remember having the dodge.
It's kind of like a Spider-Man game or like the Arkham game.
Somebody let us know in the comments, because I really can't remember if it's in the first one.
But I like the strategy aspect behind it. At first, it was a little frustrating, because I like to kind of just kind of flow through. But then once I kind of started to figure it out a little bit, I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. It's almost like a chess match in a sense.
Well, it feels so smooth when you sneak up behind somebody, knife them, and then you take down your sights and shoot somebody with a silenced pistol.
In context of the game, of course.
In the game.
Yeah.
In the game. But it makes you feel like you're like some spec ops. Like, Ellie is incredibly badass. And people don't give her enough credit. People who are upset that Joel's out of the game, you just haven't fallen in love with Ellie enough yet.
Right.
Because Ellie from the first game and the second game is such a badass. I love her dialogue. I love the voice delivery by Ashley Johnson. She is like this tough shell of a character who has these moments of vulnerability that are incredibly tender. I can't tell you how many times I've listened to her rendition of her guitar song from the record store in the second game.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? The Simon and Garfunkel song.
I don't know the name of the song. It's been too long. I'm sorry.
You're feeling
I'm sorry.
better.
I remember it being good.
I listen to it all the way through every time I pass it in the game. But she's a very complex character, and I love seeing her journey in this game going through, the path to vengeance and how much it takes for her to give up on vengeance. Like, she is like, I have to chill out, dude. I'm getting excited. She is a version of Rick Grimes to me, where she is a survivor. She has that grit. She has tenacity. She's unstoppable. She's feral, demonic. She will chase you down and kill you while there's still blood in her veins. She will not stop. And I just love that about her because of how much in the story it takes to get her to finally give up on vengeance.
Mm-hmm.
And the kind of cyclical nature of the story where we get so many journeys towards revenge, and Abby's bloodlust is kind of only stopped by meeting these scars who save her life, these two younger scars. And we got so far into spoiling, I might as well. But these two younger scars kind of teach her of the complicated nature of right and wrong and how everybody's the hero on their own side. She meets the scars are her enemies in the same, almost to the level of Joel is, and the wolves hate them and they've murdered their friends and this and that. But she learns to respect and care for these two young scars. And that's when she finally kind of gives up on hatred in a sense. And she sees the cycle of violence and she stops it and doesn't kill Ellie when she has the chance to. And then it takes a whole nother length of time in the story that I did not expect a whole nother arc in this game for Ellie to learn to do the same. It's so cool how it comes full circle for both characters. You get to experience it from both their perspectives. I'm so glad they let us play as Abby. And I hope we get lots of story from the perspective of Abby too, because I trust the narrative of the game to translate into the show.
Absolutely. What's one thing that the show needs to capture from the game in season 2 to make it a good season?
I think they need to capture our hearts in Ellie's character development. If they don't do that, then people who not only are they now losing Joel as viewers, but they're losing Pedro Pascal.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Troy Baker and I love his performance as Joel, but I think audiences are more attached to actors as opposed to voice actors.
Yeah.
So I think the double punch of losing Joel and Pedro Pascal will have some audience members, if the game's any evidence, ready to quit the show. So Bella Ramsey's got to bring it. The story's got to bring it. We've got to really vibe and connect with her character in this next season in order for the show to be a success. And I think they can do it.
I think what they need to bring to the table to make sure that this season is as good as possible is to include more infected than what they did in the first one.
That is huge.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Yeah. Because in the game, they're all over the place. And you're killing so many of these infected.
Well, it gives you real scope of the world, too, because, our world has 8 billion people on it.
Yeah.
So if they're all infected, or mostly infected, there's a lot of infected out there.
Yeah, we got a few scenes in the first season that were good. When they showed them, they were fantastic.
But they don't have
floater and all that.
They don't have to be sparing anymore. They know how much audiences love the show.
Right.
So they can go pedal to the metal.
But even in the first show, we didn't really see how much of a badass Joel was in comparison to the game version of Joel. So I hope they kind of bridge that gap a little bit more and maybe aren't as sparing with their effects.
Especially if it's going to be Joel's last hurrah when he saves Abby.
Mm-hmm.
He should be absolutely wrecking infected for that whole portion. We should get a good Joel action sequence.
For sure. 20 minutes long, at least.
Whole episode. No, I totally agree. I'm glad they're splitting this game up into more seasons.
All right. I think we should wrap this episode up here. Before we get hooked onto the story again.
Just
We
for
continue
reference-
on for another hour and a half.
Just for reference, if you're still watching, the teaser was 30 seconds.
Yeah. And we've been rolling for 40 minutes. So
I told you.
yeah, we got a lot to say about The Last of Us. Andrew said in this episode that it's his favorite game. Definitely, probably, maybe. So it definitely means a lot to him. I love this game too. I love the first season of the show, so I'm very excited to see the second season. It's going to be watching from a different perspective, because when I was watching the first season, I hadn't played the game yet. I was actually kind of playing along with it. I would kind of watch it and then play it, watch it, then play it, and kind of keep up with it that way. So this is going to be a little bit different because I've already played the game going into it. So does that increase the experience? Does it take away from the experience? We'll see. Let us know down in the comments below what you're most excited for in season 2 of The Last of Us. Thanks so much for watching. We have new episodes that come out every Monday and Thursday, and we've been posting out extra episodes too, so make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything. Where are we, Andrew?
We're on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X. We are all over the place. We're on Threads, if you can believe it.
Yeah.
I reposted some things on Threads the other day, so technically our account is active.
No, you did.
Yes, I did.
That's crazy.
So
Look at you, man.
Make sure to check us out and follow us on all of our social media platforms. Go to Spotify and give the show a 5-star rating. It helps the show get found by new listeners. And the best thing that you can do is share us with friends and family, because that will help the show grow in the most organic way possible. But if you want to get in on the ground floor and chat with us and give episode topic suggestions, you can go to our Discord for the low price of free. It is absolutely free, so make sure to go in there and chat with us. It's been very active lately, and it's just a great way to talk about movies and TV shows if you need some people that are obsessed like we are.
Definitely. Thanks so much for watching, and
That's a wrap.